Good evening, everybody. This is Mr. Abdul Wahab Jamal saluting all of you. Today we are going to deal with English as first language, primary, Cambridge Primary, and the topic is Unit 4, Lesson 9, Going Forward in Time. And we are going to deal with the Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy text. In today's session, we are going to skim read and summarize the extract. We are performing the dialogue with expression and gestures. We are going to write a factual entry for the Hitchhiker's Guide and in the end to reflect on the science fiction genre. Before starting, let's revise with each other the types of texts or stories related to science fiction. As we said, anything related to space travel, time travel, living underwater, in the deep ocean, the deep sea, living, for example, in the under the surface of the earth or in the core of the earth, teleporting, according to time travel, I mean, anything related to advanced technology which cannot be applied in these days or on these days, but maybe it's a futuristic technology, so that considered to be a science fiction. If somebody wrote a story and he was narrating it in past tense, where, for example, we didn't used to have electricity or mobile phones or gadgets or anything, and in this story, the past story, it includes some futuristic or advanced technology, you can consider it like a science fiction. In today's text, we will notice that the story was written in 1979. At that time, there was no iPhone or iPad, there was no tablet, there was no electronic books. So the author tried to invent or tried to, let's say, imagine a futuristic book or a technology or advanced technology which can show you everything related to something you ask, using, for example, the encyclopedia or using a like or something like Google or the internet, I mean, okay, and using the tablet. So that's what I'm talking about. It was written in the past, but inside the story, in that past, they traveled by time, for example, or they wrote about futuristic or advanced technology. It is considered to be science fiction. Okay, so a question for attracting the reader or breaking the ice. If you had the time machine, when would you visit? Prepare short speech explaining where, when would you go, whom you would like to meet, why you chose this time and the place. I don't think people will go to the past. I think people might go to the future in order to know what is going to happen, so they may know how to react, how to prepare themselves for the future. An answer might be, if I had the time machine, I would travel or visit the year 3000. I'd love to see how technology was advanced or has advanced and if humans have started living on the planet. I'd also like to meet famous scientists of the future to learn about their discoveries. Okay? Now, we are going to read the text and we are then going to analyze it. So let's read with each other The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Listen very carefully.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Arthur Dent and his friend Ford Prefect, an alien, although Arthur doesn't know it, have just escaped Earth's destruction. Ford stood up. We're safe, he said. Oh, good, said Arthur. We're in a small galley cabin, said Ford, in one of the spaceships of the Vogon constructor fleet. Ah, said Arthur. This is obviously some strange usage of the word safe that I wasn't previously aware of. Ford struck another match to help him search for a light switch. Monstrous shadows leapt and loomed again. Arthur struggled to his feet and hugged himself apprehensively. Hideous alien shapes seemed to throng about him. The air was thick with musty smells which sidled into his lungs without identifying themselves, and a low, irritating hum kept his brain from focusing. How did we get here? He asked, shivering slightly. We hitched a lift, said Ford. Excuse me? Said Arthur. Are you trying to tell me that we just stuck out our thumbs and some green, bug-eyed monster stuck his head out and said, "Hi, fellas, hop right in. I can take you as far as the Basingstoke roundabout"? Well, said Ford, the thumb's an electronic sub-ether signaling device. The roundabout's at Barnard's Star, 6 light years away, but otherwise that's more or less right. And the bug-eyed monster? He's green, yes. Fine, said Arthur. When can I go home? You can't, said Ford Prefect, and found the light switch. Shade your eyes, he said, and turned it on. Even Ford was surprised. Good grief, said Arthur. Is this really the interior of a flying saucer? Ford and Arthur stared around them. Well, what do you think? Said Ford. It's a bit squalid, isn't it? Ford frowned at the grubby mattresses, unwashed cups, and unidentifiable bits of smelly alien underwear that lay around the cramped cabin. Well, this is a working ship, you see, said Ford. These are the Dentrasi sleeping quarters. I thought you said they were called Vogons or something. Yes, said Ford. The Vogons run the ship. The Dentrasi are the cooks. They let us on board. I'm confused, said Arthur. Here, have a look at this, said Ford. He sat down on one of the mattresses and rummaged about in his satchel. Arthur prodded the mattress nervously and then sat on it himself. In fact, he had very little to be nervous about, because all mattresses grown in the swamps of the Squorn Sheller Zeta are very thoroughly killed and dried before being put to service. Very few have ever come to life again. Ford handed the book to Arthur. What is it? Asked Arthur. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a sort of electronic book that tells you everything you need to know about anything. That's its job. Arthur turned it over nervously in his hands. I like the cover, he said. Don't panic. It's the first helpful or intelligible thing anybody's said to me all day. I'll show you how it works, said Ford. He snatched it from Arthur, who was still holding it as if it was a 2-week dead lark, and pulled it out of its cover. You press this button here, you see, and the screen lights up, giving you the index. A screen, about 3 inches by 4, lit up, and characters began to flicker across the surface. You want to know about Vogons, so I enter that name so. His fingers tapped some more keys. There we are. The words Vogon constructor fleets flared in green across the screen. Ford pressed a large red button at the bottom of the screen, and words began to undulate across it. At the same time, the book began to speak the entry as well, in a still, quiet, measured voice. This is what the book said.
I like it very much. It's very, very nice. And the vocabulary, they are old, they are sophisticated, they are long. So the phrases and the vocabulary, you feel them that they are very traditional. And yes, it is very informative, and the way is very technical. All of this because you are writing science fiction. So you are basing your fiction on science, okay? And you have lots of similes and lots of explanation, if you wish to say. I wanted now to explain the text or to analyze it. So skim read and group performance. If you wish to skim read, which means to read fast, and then to scan, which means to search for the keywords. You have to read aloud in groups of three. For example, one is the narrator, one is Arthur Dent, and one is Ford Prefect. And then you have to use your body language, gesture, and the verbal, let's say, verbal techniques in order to visualize the conversation and to add extra expression into your dialogue. And after you read, okay, you have to pay attention to the character's reaction because Arthur is there is a very big contrasting between Arthur and Ford, by the way, the characteristics. Arthur is confused, he's nervous, he's sarcastic, humorous, and he's trying to investigate and see what is going on. Ford, the alien, he is calm, he's knowledgeable, and is slightly amused, yet relaxed. Okay, he is under control. If you want to summarize the events, Arthur and Ford have escaped the Earth's destruction, and they are on a spaceship owned by Bogan Constructor Fleet. Ford shows Arthur the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and which is an electronic book that provides information about anything. And in order to perform the extract, you have to use movement, you have to use variety of tone, you have to speak up and down, you have to show some nervousness of Arthur and some calmness of Ford. It is okay to add facial expression as well, like to show Arthur's fear and Ford's confidence. Let's remember with each other what are the features of science fiction. From the word science fiction or sci-fi, we said that science fiction is what? It's a fiction based on science. So we have a futuristic setting. So the story is set in space on spaceship. We have advanced technology because the Hitchhiker's Guide is an electronic book which at that time it wasn't invented yet. It is a futuristic technology. Alien species. We have the Vogons, we have the Dentraces, we have the Ford, okay, the alien races. And we have imaginary worlds to travel to planet or to leave the Earth, which is destructed. So the story mentioned places like Bernard's star. Okay, they resembled it into a roundabout, if you remember. And some modern equivalent, sorry, to the guide. The Hitchhiker's Guide is like the internet of these days, or smartphone, or tablets, or iPad. It provides instant information, just like Google or Wikipedia. Remember, those things weren't in 1980 or in 1979. The story is modern because it is set or written in 1979, unlike the books of Jules Verne, for example, which were written 150 years ago. That one is modern. But you feel that modernism is not quite there because it imagines technology we already know and we have today, like electronic books and these kinds of stuff. But remember, in 1979, this invention or Hitchhiker's Guide, it is something very advanced, very uh, futuristic. You understand me? So try to associate yourself to the time when the story written. So imagine yourself that you are in 1979 and you are reading the story at that time. It is science fiction. Now let's comment on the text in general. Let's analyze it if you wish to say. The main purpose of the text is to introduce the reader to a humorous and imaginative science fiction world where Earth has been destroyed and the main characters Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect are navigating the space through what? Through a spaceship. Arthur, a human, and Ford, an alien, have just escaped Earth destruction and find themselves on spaceship owned by the Vogan constructor fleet, run by Vogans and served by Distrans. The theme is to survive, to be humor in stressful atmospheres, to explore the futuristic technology. Science is science, genre is science fiction, of course. Key characteristics, as we said, we have futuristic setting, we have advanced technology, we have alien species, and we have imaginary worlds. We are in a small galley cabin in one of the space ships of the Vogan constructor fleet. Future setting. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a sort of electronic book that tells you everything you need to know about anything, advanced technology. Let's break down the text as we said for paragraphs or two paragraphs. Paragraph 1, where Arthur and Ford escape Earth's destruction and find themselves on a spaceship. The idea or the main idea, Arthur is confused, he's nervous, Ford is calm and knowledgeable. Remember, contrasting the main characters is something very important to understand the story. Section 2. Ford introduces Arthur to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the idea is to show that the guide is a futuristic device which provides information about anything. This book, by the way, could be the solve or the key to solve problems or the key for solving the climax problem, if you wish to say. They will use this book, for example, or this guide to solve their problem, to show them ways. Literary devices and figurative language, we have sense of humor, which is related to sarcasm, and we have imagery. Humor, it is when you are sarcastic or Arthur sarcastic tone and adding humor to the story, like, this obviously some strange usage of the word safe, because they said we are safe in the cabin. What safe are you talking about? The earth was destructed. Which safe? So we are in an alien spaceship. Where is the safe in that? So I wasn't previously aware of. That's an example of a humor or sarcasm. Imagery, we have descriptive language to create vivid pictures like hideous alien shapes seemed to throng about him. The air was thick with musty smells. We used what we can see and what we can smell. Some words, remember, they are sophisticated and a little bit advanced. So, throng, it is to be or to go somewhere in very large numbers. Synonyms are crowd, antonyms are disperse. And the idea or the usage is to create a sense of chaos and overwhelming presence. Sidled, it is to move towards or towards someone trying not to be noticed, like to sneak or creep. And the antonym is rush, and the usage is or the effect is to suggest cautious or secretive movement. Ether, it is the sky, it's the air, especially considered as full of radio waves. It is the atmosphere and the heavens, while the antonym is the ground, up and down. And it will add a scientific and a futuristic tone when you are using ether. And squalid, very dirty, unpleasantly, filthy, grubby, and the antonym is to clean, and to emphasize the unpleasant conditions of the spaceship for workers. Lark is a small bird who has a nice song or nice singing. Songbird, and it is metaphorical usage to describe how Arthur holds the guide. It's very important to him. And yes, it could sing. Uh, undulate, undulate have a continuous up and down shape or movement like waves on the sea. It is to ripple, to wave, and the antonym is strengthen or straighten. Yes, the usage is, the effect is to describe the movement of words on guide screen, adding dynamic visual effect. Now, if I wanted to write an entry for the guide, okay, I wanted to write something like that, Hitcher Hike Guide to the Galaxy, okay, Vogan Constructor Fleets. The purpose is to build intergalactic highways and infrastructure. Remember, you are writing a guide. So you are teaching people who read this guide, okay, how or what is the purpose, what's on the ship, who are the crew, and some features about it. So I need you to imagine that you are holding Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy and you are reading on it. You have a guide, okay, about it. So write an entry for the guide. So the purpose, it is to build, as I said, intergalactic highways and infrastructure. This is the company. Ships, they are large, grubby, and poorly maintained. Crew, Vogons, bureaucratic and unfriendly owners or employees who run and manage the ship. While Dentraces, they are cooks, they are hospital staff. Notable features like ships are uh, equipped with sub-ether signaling devices for hitchhikers, while interior is squalid with unwashed cups, smelly alien underwear, or uh, clothes, let's say. Reflecting on the science fiction genre, after we read this, after we understood this, can we now reflect or write something? I have a question. Do you enjoy science fiction stories? Yes or no? Explain and tell me why. Example of the reflection: I enjoyed this story, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because it was funny, imaginative. It made me think about how technology might change in the future, and I usually don't read science fiction, but this story has made me cautious or curious to try more. That's an opinion or a short paragraph to reflect on the text. We read the meanings of the words in the analysis sheet, and now we have some questions to revise the task or the text. What is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? It is an electronic book with information about anything. How does author feel about being on the spaceship? He is nervous and confused. Complete these sentences using fill in the blank or using one or word. Ford and or Arthur escaped Earth's destruction while the spaceship belongs to the Vogan constructor fleet. Role playing in order to make fun or have fun, for example, while you are reading, it is okay, as we said, to perform this scene with a friend. One is the narrator, the other is Ford, and the last is Arthur. Writing task and guidance, as I said, create your own guide entry as same as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Number one, you will choose a topic like an alien cuisine or intergalactic travel tips. And then you are going to write factual entry with a bullet points or short paragraphs about alien cuisine, the intracy specialists, green soup, glowing bread, and fizzy drinks. Remember, this is science fiction. While vegan dishes, they are mostly inedible with a strong smell of burnt rubber. And after you wrote it, you have to checklist of writing, grammar and punctuation, vocabulary, structure. Remember to use headings, bullet points, short paragraphs in your paragraphs or in the structure. Use powerful words, something related to future and advanced technology. And in your grammar and punctuation, use all end marks and use all capital letters. And remember, please, the story should be set in the future or on a spaceship. And remember that in your characterization, you have to show two characters. One is lost, the other is knowledgeable, in order to help each other and to create dialogue between both of them to explain what is going on. Science fiction features include futuristic technology, alien species, and the space travel, and advanced technology must be used or shown inside the text. Now I have a writing task creation. Imagine you are an alien traveling through space. Write short story about your journey and include description of the spaceship, meet another alien, surprising event. In order to plan this story, you have to brainstorm ideas. You have to structure the text into paragraphs, introduction, middle, and ending. You have to use dialogue between characters to describe what is going on and use show don't tell instead of narrating. Use key vocabulary in order to attract the reader and to give some sophistication to your text. Use the powerful words found in the text, it's okay. Edit and proofread. After you finish writing, please let somebody check the grammar, punctuation, and the spelling before submitting, and then ask somebody to read the text loud for you. Example, misadventure in Squidville. Squidville. It all started when I accidentally tripped on a rock in my backyard and fell into a mysterious glowing hole. 1 second I was in my garden, while the next I was in a world called Squidville. The sky was purple, the trees were made of jelly, and there were tiny floating cows mooing in the air. Can you see the futuristic and the descriptive language and the teleporting in 1 second? I stood up, dusted myself off, looked around in confusion. A tiny creature with the 3 eyes waddled over to me, sorry. Welcome to Squidgeville, it said, shaking my hand with three arms. Are you here for the Jelly Festival? Festival? I repeated, staring at the cow that now seemed to be doing flips. I think I just tripped and ended up here by accident. Oh, the creature said. Well, we're glad you are here. Everyone loves an accidental visitor. As I walked through the jelly trees forest or tree forest, I couldn't help but laugh at the sight of a frog hopping past with the top hat and carrying a suitcase. In Squidgeville, nothing made sense. but somehow that was exactly what made it so amusing. I didn't know how to get home, but I was beginning to enjoy the chaos and like the place. Now, in order to checklist your writing, did you write about the character who ends up on Strange World? Yes, I did. Is your story structured and organized with a clear introduction, middle, and end? Yes, it was. Does the story create a humor and confusion as purpose? Yes, it does. Have you described the strange world in detail? I tried to put as much descriptive language in the content as much as I can, or as much as I can, yeah. And audience to whom you are writing, is your language simple, easy to follow for young readers to read this type of text? Yes, I did. And what about the vocabulary? Are you using humorous, descriptive, powerful words like glowing, waddle, jelly, and topsy turvy? Yes, I did. What about the language? Are you describing fun and clear moments? I did. What about the grammar? Are your sentences correct and easy to read or to be read? And then text structure. Are your text well organized and logical? What about the sentence structure? Are you using variety of sentence types and you included connectives or transition words? Punctuation and spelling is the last thing. Is your punctuation correct? Have you checked all your spelling mistakes and the grammar errors? By doing this, you have a perfect writing after planning, drafting, publishing, and then checklisting. I'd like to thank you so much for having me today. Remember that your homework is 4.9 going forward in time. It is the workbook. You have first question, which is to fill in the gap with the correct connectives. I love this uh, exercise. Practice number 2, you have to continue the extract above for another paragraph. Include the following time connectives. And then the challenge. Write your own beginning to a science fiction story in the year of 2166. Make sure you include features to tell the readers that you are starting to read science fiction tale. Use time connectives to link your clauses and sentences with each other. Thank you so much for having me today again. Next session will be 4.10 spelling, punctuation, and the grammar. We also are going to plan and write a science fiction story. Thank you again and see you inshallah next session. Have a nice night.